On this episode of JRL Golf Academy, I had Dan Carraher, PGA, European PGA coach, LPGA coach, works with all the tour players, has a phenomenal junior program there out of Jacksonville, or just a little south of it. Listen into this interview. We talk about drills to draw the ball, to fade the ball, and also a lot about junior golf and things that you might not know to have a successful junior program. Thanks for tuning again to JRL Golf Academy.
Right, that's right. Hey, there's another question here from Anthem Fam. Have you had much success with the reverse alignment stick drill?
Does he mean the one that I did the video for that you kind of screen grabbed? If the for the
I don't know. Ask that question again. Let's see what you wanted to ask about Dan there. I'm not quite sure.
I would say most of my juniors could comment that they've done that. Like that's one of probably the most popular. It's frustrating because it's really hard to do well. But if you force them to keep doing it, it's hard to do a lot of things poorly and get away with it. There's no real cheat to get around it. So by making it to where you can't fake it, that they get really pissed for about 30 minutes and then they usually figure out how to make it work very quickly.
Real quick, right?
Yeah.
All right. Julian did say, I'm listening to this as I tie-dye a t-shirt. There was another question here by, where was it? It was a BB Golf Show. Asked something about over-exaggeration in the drills. How do you feel about that?
What I usually stress to people is, one, I don't like it truly being super exaggerated, but if you have no frame of reference for, like, let's say perfect is 10 out of 10. If you have no frame of reference for what 10 feels like, 8 might feel like 14.
Yeah.
So, like, you are still short of where we're trying to get to, but you feel like you've gone way past it. So I usually like to do things that are relatively structured, like the stick drill, that you're not going to go too far the other way, but you have to do it at least 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
So that it might feel very exaggerated in the beginning, but in reality, it's actually pretty close to where you actually want to end up.
Yeah.
And then just understanding that feel is going to change. So, like, after a week of doing it, that drill doesn't feel exaggerated anymore. But it's kind of getting players to understand that feel helps reproduce mechanics, but it's not great for learning them. You have something to where there's kind of constraints set up to where you know what you're doing is right, and then whatever it feels like, and then you can use that feel to reproduce what you just did. But if you're trying to learn mechanics solely from feel, I think you are going to be bouncing all over the place.
I gotcha. That was a great answer there, dude. Yeah, that was the one from BB. What's up, Aaron Smith? Aaron asks here, what do you think you can do when you're older and don't have many people to play with on your level or at all, like when you're younger, to resemble that competition? That's a really good question.
I would say I wish I knew what that was like. We're lucky in Florida that we can probably name 3 money games going on various days of the week here in town at most public golf courses that anybody can come play, that will usually have like 1 or 2 All-Americans in them and a bunch of mini tour. Like, if you roll up to the one at Jack's Beach on a Thursday, there's probably at least a couple guys with status, some college All-Americans, and a bunch of plus handicaps playing in it at any given time.
No issues there.
It's available to where, like, now with all the PGA Tour members, whether it's Canada, Latin America, they get status at TPC. Like, this area where I teach is 20 minutes from TPC. There's a ton of good players in this area. And then we have a couple top 50 college teams in the area. So you add in the fact that all of that's kind of in one place. Finding competition around here is usually, and there's like 4 mini tours within a 4-hour drive, like finding competition around here is usually pretty easy. And I would say a lot of places might be easier to find than you think. You just have to seek it out. Like it's not as easy when you're all in school together and like you're hanging around each other all the time outside of golf. Like you might have to go looking for it, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet most major cities in the US you can find some pretty good games going around.
Go find the mini tour event, right? I
Yeah.
mean, go do that. I know there's always some games like that. How do you feel, the Bays boys? This dude's in Florida here. Actually, I think I told him to go look you up. How do you feel about rankings as a 14-year-old? What's your take on that? And then I'll toss in my take because I run a junior tour here.
I think it depends. I think too many people look at the rankings. I think at the end of the day, good golf takes care of itself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys play the ranking game where they will only focus on certain events, limit how many events they play because they want to keep that divisor pretty low, only playing the biggest events they can get into, and taking extended period of times away from competition. At 14 years old, honestly, I would say it doesn't matter. No one can talk to you anyways. No one, like, you're barely on the recruiting radar. Unless you're one of the best players in the world, which I do have a couple 14-year-olds that are, before the rules change, are committed to top programs already. But unless you're one of those, top 100 in the world as a 14, like playing AJGA invitationals as a 14-year-old, it really doesn't matter. I think playing as often as possible and learning how to win and playing in everything you can get your hands on is pretty important. Like I do see it go the other way where some people play too many events. My general rule, the target is 12 to 15 a year. So I would say, as a general, I say one a month except for the summer, and then you can do 2 a month.
Good call.
And those are multi-day events.
Yeah.
I tell the kids you can play as many one-day events as possible. One, they don't count for ranking.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a practice round, like go out there, but you still have to sign your name on the scorecard, and it still does matter. And like here in Florida, the one-day events earn exemptions into like FJTs and performance stars for AJGA events. So the one-day events actually help you get into the bigger events that you're trying to get into anyways.
Yeah, I'd agree on a lot of that. Absolutely. With the tour that we run out here in California, with the California Junior Golf Tour, we run all 2-day events on our big tour, so they're all nationally ranked. With that being said, and I'm going to come from the point of there's a college recruiter that we tend to use quite a bit. You know what I mean, just to get answers and stuff like what like this guy's asking. And he's going to be actually on tomorrow on Live with Leary here. We're going to do a seminar with him just so that everybody can ask that question, what he had asked. And the rankings are realistically, colleges only have they've got a limited amount of time to figure out who they're going to recruit for the following years and stuff like that. So being able to they got to start somewhere. So realistically, what I've been told is they look at that top 200 on the ranking list, because they don't have time to go like try to find that person out in the middle of nowhere that can really play golf. They also go by they go by it revolves. They're going by 10 tournaments at a time, right? So you could be on a bad streak, and then they're going to take these 10 rounds, and then whatever, you lose your rounds as you keep playing on the back end. So when is the right time? I don't know. It's a really good question. When is time? But I know that they do look at it with a lot of the colleges.
What I have is most of the kids I tell, like 13, 14, 15 doesn't matter. 15, it's starting to matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're lucky that the Florida Junior Tour, which is run by the State Golf Association, I would say many of those events are actually stronger than a lot of AJGA Opens.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's plenty of FJTs where even par is going to get you 25th place, especially at certain courses. So like the talent level down here is good. And I try to tell kids, like, you can spend a fortune chasing the ranking. And at the end of the day, it doesn't. My best example is Philip Knowles, who's was an All-American at UNF and very good player, who's now a professional Corn Ferry member. He never played an AJGA and only played 3 FJTs. And
so did he ever? You said he played. Say that again. What he played in?
He played 0 AJGAs, and I think he only played a handful of. I think it's 3, but I know it's only a handful of FJTs. But the difference is like he qualified for the. I think he qualified for the U.S. Amateur at 15. So like he was recruited heavily by a lot of people just by playing the state AM, USGA qualifiers, and playing state golf. Like they didn't have much. Like, he wasn't traveling the country. He wasn't trying to do all this big stuff. Is that if you can play good golf, it'll get noticed, and the ranking will reflect it. Like we have kids that are top 100 overall and top 30 in their class who have hardly played any AJGAs at all. And actually, I think the one has 0 AJGAs in his current ranking. So he's played them in the past, but in the current ranking, I don't think any of them are relevant.
Yeah. So all these kids you're talking about, Dan, they're all playing the like 2-day nationally ranked events locally.
2 and 3 day. Yeah.
Yeah. Locally.
Florida Junior Tour actually has multiple 3-day events as well.
Yeah. And that was the point, honestly, now why we started our junior tour in LA, is there just wasn't enough opportunity. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the AJGA. I really do. I played on it as a kid. It's, I think they do a great job. But it's expensive. Like, I didn't come from much money, you know what I mean? You're looking at $1,500 to like $2,500 a week to go out there. Right. I mean, minus you're going to lose.
If you're counting hotel and travel, and like if you have to qualify, like if you have to play in the qualifier, if you have to buy the membership, like it adds up really quickly.
Real quick.
They run extremely well. They use that money to pay for some awesome staff and interns. But it's, I think, overly expensive, and I think my attitude might be a little different, except that we're a little spoiled here in Florida. Like we have, we have is most FJTs are in that, like, I'd have to look, like $125 range for a multi-day event at some of the top, like, public and private courses in the state of Florida. Kids get to play courses that it would be a lot more than $125 to play. Many cases, 1 round of golf, let alone 2 rounds of golf on.
Right.
And they get to play it with, 10 D1 coaches walking the tournament. And like in reality, one of the knuckleheads I teach has a bunch of offers from a bunch of top 50 programs. And he did play in the US Junior, but he's played in one junior all-star and 1 AJGA event.
Uh-huh.
And he played off. He would consider it awful in the junior all-star, and then he finished, I think, 6th in the other one that he played. But he hasn't made it like a massive priority to go out and play every AJGA that he can get into.
I think you guys are super lucky there with that. You know what I mean? Having that opportunity. That's what we're trying to do here now in LA, just to give more opportunity for these kids, because it's expensive, man. It's tough. It's tough, but to have an opportunity like that, I think the moral of the story there, find those tours that are local that are nationally ranked events, so that you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money chasing things around.
Yeah, and I think California, Texas, Arizona, and Florida are lucky because they have them built in, where I know Arizona, there's a kid who's one of the top ranked juniors in the country, never plays outside of the state of Arizona. I think that can be a mistake if you're that good. I do think playing elsewhere and experiencing different types of golf, especially if you're only playing desert golf, which I would say be a little forgiving as far as scoring average goes. Playing in tight, windy courses in Florida with Bermuda, I would put those scoring averages up against most places. But like, I think if you live in kind of the Midwest, you're probably going to have to travel a little bit and play probably AJGAs, probably some hurricane stuff. Like there's like the Hurricane Tour in Florida is relatively weak just because of the options that we have. But I do know elsewhere they get some really good fields in kind of Ohio, like Midwest, because it's it's a legit option and it's a good option. We're just spoiled with a lot of options.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting. I didn't realize it was that affordable. I mean, it's not cheap by any means, but like what you were saying, you could play a multi-day nationally ranked event for $1.25 or something like that at a really good track, dude. That's pretty really attractive.
Yeah, like, and I would say plenty of them on Junior Golf Scoreboard, like I said, are ranked higher than AJGA Opens. Like the last one, I had a boy and girl win in both divisions. But the last FGT at Ocala, like you couldn't name a player on the leaderboard that wasn't like it was an exempt. Now they're starting to do exempt only event. So the only kids that were allowed in the field were kids that were fully exempt on the tour. And you're talking about like 30, I think it was like 30 girls and 50 boys, where every single one of them is going to be like play relatively big time college golf. Like
that's pretty impressive right there, dude.
Yeah, so like I mean it's spoiled. Like it's cheap and the competition's really good.
Let's get into some mechanics. How about that? Yep. What are some of your favorite drills? Say somebody, let's do both draw and fade. So give me a drill there that people here would like to see, or that you could have them working on to work more towards a pattern of drawing the ball. What would be like a favorite drill of yours that you like to do?
Draw's pretty easy. I would say the biggest thing people that I see on a daily basis that get in trouble is and actually that stick drill that he was talking about is good. They over rotate their arms going back. Hands kind of work out away from you. Club over rotates, gets under and open, and their body doesn't rotate very much, so they don't have any depth with their hands. Club's way deep and under, and pretty much with the face that open, you're pretty much going to steven the club and wipe across it 100% of the time. So my favorite is that stick drill just because it gives you a chance to do it. Like it sets you up to where you're actually incentivized to do things that you have to shallow the club in transition. The face is way less open. It's doing things that are incentivizing you. And you can hit both shots from there, but it gets the first step of the draw, the club shallowing and the face not being wide open for pretty much everybody. And then you can just as easily turn that into cut by clearing really hard and hitting. The harder you hit it, the straighter it wants to go.
You got a stick there to show that by any chance?
Not in this room, but there is the full Instagram TV video that I posted, I think like 2 days ago, covers it from like start to finish. But basically it eliminates the ability to over rotate your arms in the backswing. So I would say it's a mini Matt Wolf. Like it forces it forces the club head to stay a little sweet spot, to stay a little outside the hands and above plane going back. And then you'll see when you watch the video, if you don't shallow the club in transition, it's going to smack the crap out of you coming down. So it's very heavily incentive based. So if you were to take that putter, choke down so near the club head.
Okay, I'm left-handed here, or I'm gonna hold it left-handed so it looks righty to you guys. Okay.
Yep. And so do it on the trail hip. So you had it right.
Like this.
So now when you take it back, you're not going to be able to over rotate the arm. Hands have to go in. Club head has to stay out.
And so I can't do this, obviously. I can't.
Exactly.
I can't do this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then when you fold the trail arm, it works up, and as you come down, it just switches sides, and then you're trying not to kill yourself on the left hip.
I love that, dude.
So like that's one of my favorites, just because there's so many little details that you have to get right, but you're not thinking about all the details. You're going into total caveman self-preservation mode and going, I don't want to smack the crap out of myself. And
I'll make a good
the only
swing if
way
I don't hit myself.
the only way to not do that is to do a bunch of stuff well.
Ah, I gotcha. I gotcha. Hey, dude, I'm stealing this one from you, all right, dude? But I'll give you credit, not like other people.
It's fun.
So you're talking about, there we go. Can you see me in there okay, D?
Yep.
All right.
There. Yep. And then as you come down, it has to show. Yep. And you can really hit both whatever ball flight you want from there, but it creates a great, I would say, base to kind of build any swing pattern from.
Yeah.
Like it's one that you will see 5 different people do that same drill and it'll look slightly different. Like there's room for individuality. It's more getting the center mass of the club and the hand path to move in the right direction, and allows for a personal. Some people look more Matt Wolf while doing it, and some people look very traditional while doing it.
But they swear that it's outside, right? The club
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
And it just depends on like how. So like if you rotate a little less with your pivot going back, it looks very Matt Wolf.
Hang on. So I'm going to rotate less.
Yeah, if you do it with less turn early, it stays way out.
So feel like more just club head, hands and arms going a little bit more?
Yep. Then you get a lot of that kind of old Fowler, like young Fowler look.
Yep.
But if you turn early, like a Sneed, it actually is dead on your hand. Like it looks very normal. And so the beauty of it is that's more aesthetics. Like that's more stylistic. It doesn't really matter. It's more making sure that club center mass doesn't get way too below the hand path way too early. Like it just basically is making some good things happen, and depending on how you go about trying to do it will make it stylistically look a little different, but you're accomplishing, I'm sure Scott loves all that, like you're accomplishing a lot of the same stuff from a physics standpoint, regardless of how it looks visually.
Absolutely. And that's what I picked up from you is like the individuality of things, like you were talking about earlier about, you can do maybe a little more of this or a little bit more of that. I think, it's not so rigid.
Yeah, there's some big picture things that you need to have happen. And visually it might look really different depending on the sequence that you load it and the rate at which you do it. But you're largely accomplishing the same big picture goal. Like some people like to have the really late set. And you can do that with this drill. Or you can actually set it pretty quickly and get the end going down your right leg pretty quickly, and then it actually clears your side earlier. That would look more like young Fowler, so you could actually even lay it off at the top doing that.
Yeah.
If you did the really late set, like Matt Wolf, it would look like Matt Wolf, like it would get kind of crossed up, and it doesn't really matter which one it kind of just makes sure that the club's head is kind of in a reasonable gray area that can work. I always liked Jim McLean's picture, where it's kind of the ice cream cone of success. Like there's this gray area between both extremes where it can be, that
somewhere in there.
In the gray area can be made to work if you have the necessary kind of prerequisites and kind of matchups, for lack of a better term, to make that work. Like there's a range of acceptability, and then there's a lot of people that have things that look pretty good aesthetically, but things don't actually match and they don't play well. Like they massively underachieve from what they probably should have.
I think that's the beauty of you, Dan, is that you could take a complex subject and go, hey, dude, go put it on the side of your hip and you'll get a feel of what your swing should feel like, dude. And that's what the great teachers do, like yourself, right? It's just, I can make it as complex as you want it, or I can make it real easy for you if you want.
Yeah, another one for drawing the golf ball, I think is cross-handed swings.
Okay.
What it does is,
there we go. Okay.
Hands have to work in.
Let me get this. Okay.
So hands have to work in. You can't lift as much at the top of the backswing. And like if someone goes cross-handed, that usually slices it. They feel like they're coming. It's kind of the Rory, like they feel like that lead arm's way across their chest, and yeah, super deep, and it really gets the pivot has to engage. So for the guys that kind of tumble it early and don't really turn through it, it's one of the quickest, because as soon as you go lead hand low, you can't flip out. Like it basically eliminates some of the options. That trail arm can't straighten too fast. It generally stays bent. Club head stays behind. So it kind of forces the club to approach from the inside, but that pivot to kind of get out of the way and engage.
Yeah, I feel that.
I will warn people, if you try to hit balls right away, you're going to whiff it a lot because it's hard. So because it forces the trail arm to stay bent and the shaft to stay leaning forward, all which kind of shorten the club. One stands up even a little bit, and there's a little bit of early extension, they're going to swing 6 inches above the top of the golf ball. Which means if they keep doing it, they're going to end up learning how to stay in their tilts and end up with a really good impact position. But it can be one of the most infuriating, frustrating things you've ever tried if you try to go full speed right away and hit balls cross-handed.
I hear you on that one, dude. I did that for a while, and it was weird. For like 2 weeks, I couldn't hit the golf ball, bro. So be careful with that, but like, it is great.
You'll see Matt Fitzpatrick, Brooks practices a lot cross it. Like,
oh, really?
Generally, it's the guys that I think play cuts like it when they're trying to like recenter, not overdo their natural tendencies.
Yeah.
So like the pass starts getting not enough depth, not enough turn, and then the path goes too far across it. They start going cross-handed, and it immediately makes it more draw bias, not to the point where it actually draws, but kind of brings it back to closer to zero. So it's a tiny fade instead of a massive one.
Yeah. I got you on that. Well, D, thanks so much, man, dude. I can't thank you enough. I know I bugged you on certain things in the past. I'm like, dude, how do I do this, D? You've been a good friend from across the country there, dude. I'm stoked for all your success with all your players, top 100 teacher and all that. And all I see is bright stuff for you continuing going on forward, brother.
Thanks. Glad to help. I mean, I actually love this stuff and probably don't sleep enough, but happy to help and work on tinkering with things is kind of what I do. So it doesn't matter whether it's making knives in the garage or rebuilding cars or making people hit the golf ball a little bit better.
Love it. Let everybody know where you're at.
Yeah, I'm in live in Jacksonville, teach just south of Jacksonville at Southampton, in right at the St. Augustine Jacksonville border.
And let everybody know your Instagram, if you would, please.
Believe it's just Dan Carraher.
Yeah, there we go. So if you guys need to find Dan, he's a wealth of knowledge, one of the best teachers around. I thank him so much for always his knowledge that he tends to share with a lot of people. And keep killing it, bro.
You too.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
All right, see ya.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody, the JRL Golf Academy. Please make sure to link and comment down below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that little bell for notifications. And we look forward to seeing you on the next JRL Golf Academy.